Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the book that he's read this week. What's the old guy read this week? Well, the book I've read this week is this one. It's called One of Us is Guilty by author Steve Cavanagh. Was published as a hardback edition here in the United Kingdom by Headline on 30th of July 2026. And it's another adventure for Eddie Flynn. Eddie Flynn, former con man turned defence lawyer. And this is the 10th book in the series. And for those that like a good old-fashioned book in the hand, as I do, will note that there's a very nice graphic on the inside of the dust cover, which shows a top-level view of New York City, and a graphic that says Eddie Flynn 10, and that's the same on the back of the book as well. So a nice little touch, I think, on the graphic side. So I've reviewed a couple of the Eddie Flynn series previously on the channel, the last two, Two Kinds of Stranger and Witness 8, so have a look at those if you want to see my reviews on those. I've enjoyed the Eddie Flynn series before. Eddie, as I said, ex-con man, now criminal defence lawyer, uses method orthodox and unorthodox to get results, but is a man driven by the need to see justice delivered and being on the right side of justice. And he realises that very often in the US, the rich, well, I'm saying everywhere, I guess, the rich and the powerful can manipulate the justice system to their advantage. So this is a story about that subject, really. So before we start, it's the usual crew. So we have Eddie Flynn, as I said, former con man to defence lawyer. His best friend Harry Ford, who's a former judge, acts as a consultant, and of course Harry's dog Clarence. We don't have Kate Brooks in this one. Kate Brooks, who was an attorney left in the previous books. But we've got the usual crew supporting Harry and Eddie. Melissa Block, as she's mostly known, private investigator, a bit of a badass, gets stuck in, and Gabriel Lake, an ex-FBI analyst. We've also got his secretary Denise, who looks after the office and looks after them all, and she's dating a bit of a dodgy geezer who's gloriously named, because he swears a lot, Tony Two Fucks. You got to love a book with a character like that in it, haven't you? But anyway, by the by, less of the waffle cliff. What's the story about? Okay, the story, as it's probably outlined on the front, it says a perfect couple, but one of them is a killer. Which one? So this is a tale of a married couple. They are called Patrick Vanderpool and Vanessa Vanderpool. They've been married about 2 years. Now, Patrick is the son of a guy called Julian Vanderpool, who is a media mogul. He owns all sorts of media outlets, is fabulously rich, owns property all over the world, and is a guy that likes getting what he wants. And Patrick has been brought up to do basically what Dad Julian tells him to do. So at the moment, Patrick is in the middle of running for governor. He's got a whole team behind him, and Julian Vanderpool Sr. is absolutely keen that Patrick becomes governor. Patrick isn't quite so sure, not sure if politics is his gig, but Julian, the father, says, think of the influence that'll bring me, and I want you to do it. So Patrick, as always, does as his dad tells him. So that's the background to the story. So Patrick has a team working on his election, trying to get him elected. And one of the people in that team is a lady called Molly Green. He's become very close to her, and we find out right at the front of the book that Patrick's been having an affair with Molly Green. And clearly this is a slightly dodgy set of events, because if that were to be known, then that might affect Patrick's election chances. Unfortunately, Molly Green is murdered, and I won't go into the exact details of how she's murdered, but it's a very gruesome murder. And the suspects are basically two people. They're two people married to her. It's Patrick, who she was having an affair with, and Vanessa, Patrick's wife. Vanessa, did she want to just get Molly out of the way? She didn't want to interfere with the husband. Patrick, if news of his affair with Molly came out, it would ruin his chances. So what's going on here? So thus Eddie and crew are involved. Eddie has basically been asked by a hotshot lawyer firm that are the Vanderpool's lawyers to defend Vanessa Vanderpool, because the police think that Vanessa Vanderpool has murdered Molly Green. They found out that she's lied to them in her testimony to them. They found DNA on a jewellery box that was found in the apartment where Molly Green was murdered, and they think this is a stone cold Vanessa really did it. A lot of people aren't sure about that, but as far as the process is concerned, Julian Vanderpool, Patrick's father, has connections. He owns, he's got connections with the police, with the judiciary. He's got a media empire, and he's pushing for this trial to be out of the way before the election for Patrick. So Eddie's got a case on his hands. He's got to find out, did Vanessa do it? Eddie's got this thing where he only likes to defend people who he actually thinks are innocent. And he's not quite sure about Vanessa. He thinks she's holding something back, but I'm not quite sure. So Patrick is keen that this trial gets out of the way, because again, he doesn't want to upset his father. His father definitely wants the trial to get out of the way. And Eddie gets the feeling when the trial commences of Vanessa Green for Molly's murder that the odds are stacked against him. He's up against a hotshot attorney from the DA's office called Riley, who's looking to further his career ambitions. The judge, Eddie feels, is not quite unbiased, and he's in trouble with her almost straight away and getting fined for contempt of court. And thus the tale unfolds. So we have a lot of action in the courtroom. We have the usual courtroom drama with Eddie, and as I said, we're doing things in a conventional way, and certainly doing things in a slightly unconventional way. But we have a lot of drama outside the courtroom as well, as Eddie struggles to get evidence and to try and get his investigators, Block and Lake, to find out what on earth's going on here, because clearly not all the facts that are being pushed by the prosecution he thinks there's some gaps in those facts, and they're being selective, if you will. So it's another good thriller. You empathise with Eddie, and there's a few side plots as well with Eddie, with his family, looking after other people as well, and it's a really good thriller. There's some couple of twists at the end that you won't spot coming, and Steve Cavanagh does that very well. Steve Cavanagh tells a good tale, so it's a good tale. You see lots of courtroom action, and you see lots of action outside the courtroom as Eddie is trying to find out what on earth's going on here and who was responsible for the murder of Molly Green. So I really enjoyed it. It's I said I reviewed the previous two books in the series and enjoyed those. It's 417 pages, so it's not too much of a task. I read it in 2 sessions, and it's a really good murder mystery. So I think that's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10 till we do it again. Thanks for watching. Bye.